All right, welcome to our webinar tonight. We're going to be talking about active communication with sellers, and I've got Deanne here who's going to give us our Movement Mortgage Minute. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, Deanne, real quick for that.
Thank you. Deanne Yellum over at Movement Mortgage, your preferred lender, at least one of them. And hello, I just want to give you a quick market update. Things were really active this weekend. And what's happening is, yes, the Feds have decided that they're not stopping yet, that we are still likely to see that recession in the first quarter of 2023. And what's happening is people are getting off the fence. So this is a good opportunity for you to go out there and talk to people that think they're going to wait and let them know that it might be the best time for them to purchase. Inventory is still low enough to where it's still a seller's market, so there's no surprise there. And that's all I have. As far as interest rates go, yes, they are moving up. And they're likely to continue to move up this year. We are approaching closer to the 7% in the conforming markets and FHA, as well as, about jumbos are better. They're about a half of a point better than the conforming products.
Most of our product is jumbo in the Seattle region, I think. So King County, we're jumbo pretty much all around. So that is helpful for those, but still the rates going up. I hear a lot of kind of still panic about interest rates going up, and having somebody that can watch that for you or just run a different quote. I think that's the best thing, is just, if you have a client who's unsure, is just reach out. It doesn't hurt to get a quote, right, Deanne? Just kind of run the numbers.
We would love to give you a quote. There's a lot of different factors. And if I could just share one more thing, if you want to know what the trend is, one trend, if you look at the 10-year bond on, pull up interestrate.com or whatever, and look at the 10-year bond and add 3 points to it, that's about what the interest rates will be. That's one of the components that are changing rates. So that will give you an idea if, unless there are questionable credit scores, and then obviously that everything changes. So I'd love to do a quote. I work weekends, I work evenings. Give me a call. I'd love to help.
She texts as well. I know that. It was nice to have her help us out this last weekend on that. Fantastic. Thank you, Deanne, for that moment. So I do have a lot to share tonight in regards to information I've collected from other Best Choice Realty brokers and other brokers from other companies. And my coach, I do pay for coaching, and I think it's super essential to have when you are in a place of business development. There's always somebody that you can turn to that maybe knows more than you. And so I have been actively engaged in this communication with sellers for the last 2 to 3 months, and I finally have enough information to prepare to give you so that you can disseminate it out, actually implement some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. So I have a full plate. I want you to mark your calendars, though, for next Monday, all of you who are on tonight. The new contract is rolling out with Northwest MLS, and that would be for anybody that's Washington licensed. I know I have some people on the call from Idaho, but I think it's important for you to know what's going on, because it will at some point impact you in Idaho if you work across the border. So be happy to help and get you started on that, but that will be next Monday. And you probably want to block out an entire hour for next Monday, because I have a lot to cover with the new contracts. And we are going to spend the time in giving you the foundation that we can grow from throughout the month of October. So to go ahead and get started, when it comes to listing communication, why are we talking about this tonight? I had, as you know, a lot of people taking listings in May, June, July. And then what happened is that maybe we had high expectations. The sellers had high expectations for us, and maybe we did not deliver. And so they get frustrated. And when the prices started to see some adjusting and they were not priced maybe, and you were coming to them for price reductions, and they were resistant and just saying, I'm just going to pull my house off the market. And then they start looking to you. Are you really doing a good job? And is the firm that is representing me doing a good job to market my property? So I took it upon myself to look at what the competition is doing. And I am going to have Shannon click on the link so you can see what I pulled from Sotheby's. Now, mind you, Sotheby's has, they cater to a higher luxury, especially on this particular seller communication report, they cater to a higher end seller. But nonetheless, you can see how detailed they are with their communication. If you look on the left side, they have an overview. They tell you how many showings, how many email campaigns they're doing, how many social campaigns, placement of featured on their website. They basically have all of these things on the left-hand side. You can kind of hover over that, Shannon, on the left. All of the left stuff is introduction to email campaigns to open houses, and all of these things, views on the website, views on their website. I'm sure they pay a lot of money. In fact, I know they spend a lot of money in compiling this information, but this is what competitors are often sending their sellers. So when you're thinking, well, why is my seller resistant to listen to me? Maybe we need to start looking at how we're communicating once we take the listing, once we start, because it's a lot easier when you give them this type of information to ask for a price reduction and to ask for an adjustment in how you're doing something when you have taken that time to get this report over to them. So tonight I'm going to go over some options or some key points that our top producers have looked at. And I guess we could, again, it doesn't have to look like Sotheby's. It certainly can look like your own. But let's go ahead and go into the next slide so I can go through some of the top tips. So you want to set up the communication. Some of the top producers have said that one of their best things that they do is they send a copy of their listing and any marketing or advertising materials that they are including. They do that right off on day one. In fact, when the moment they take the listing, they send a copy of everything that they're doing for their seller, so that the seller sees what they're doing right out of the gate. So that would be number one, the first bullet point there. The next thing that I thought was a really good idea, and I don't know if you get just too busy or you have multiple listings, but I thought this was a fantastic idea that if once you have a listing, it's not that difficult to set up an automatic search in whatever portal you're using. If you're using HomeSpot, or if you're using your MLS, or you're using whatever website or CRM system that you set your sellers up for similar properties. You can set it up and forget it, really, so that they're notified with any properties that come on the market within a 1 to 2 mile radius of their property. So they can, in essence, it's like it's coming from you. They get notified, and then it takes a lot of that work out of you. So you don't have to wait for Sotheby's to put a report together. It could just be on autopilot. And many of our top producers do that automatically. It's one of the things they do in the first week of listing. They set up their sellers for this automatic search on whatever website they're using to communicate. The third thing that they do would be to syndicate or boost. You can do it pretty easily on social media. We can do it in the office for you. I believe we charge $75 to do that. We put it on all three, several different channels, make it very easy. So if you don't want to do it yourself, and you want the office to do it for you, just go ahead and send an email to support@bestchoicerealtylaw.com, and we will syndicate and boost your listing further. We've seen that also helps the sellers understand that you're doing more marketing for them. And that often helps them in getting a price reduction done, knowing that you're doing your part to get their listing out in front of more people. Another thing that you do, reverse prospecting. Some of you have MLS accounts where we've gone through how to do it. There is a button you can click that gives you step-by-step instructions on how to reverse prospect. Most MLS sites allow you to communicate with that way and allow you to email that other agent that may have a buyer who is interested in that particular listing. So it's a great way to communicate with other types of agents that are out there with buyers. So if you haven't reverse prospected, you probably want to do that before you ask for a price reduction. Setting up an automatic systematic review system. So it's kind of like you're getting reviews. Like if they've toured the property, you certainly want to get that feedback right away, as soon as possible. I've toyed with different systems like, okay, is it better to text an agent for feedback after they show? Is it better to call them for feedback? Is it better to send them kind of an email from showing time, or from a different survey system? Honestly, I think at this point, the more we help each other, the better all of us will be. And if you are basically getting those surveys, fill them out. It helps those other people in the business when they see Best Choice Realty and they got a nice survey back from you, even if it's negative feedback, at least they got feedback that they could give to their seller. They will often return the favor when you have a listing. So if you're a buyer's agent, fill those surveys out. If you're a listing agent, request it in whatever shape or fashion that you know works. It really depends on your personality, your business, and the relationships you've developed over the areas that you service. I've done them all. I've done texting, I've done phone calls, I've done all of the like, and they all work. You just have to be good and consistent at whatever you do. Calling and texting agents, we kind of talked about that. And then you want to provide your seller with overall market statistics for their community, zip code, county, regularly. So what we're seeing is listings are staying on the market for longer than a week. In fact, we're up to some areas we're over 30 days on the market. So with that, you definitely want to look at the market and provide a report to that seller at least once a month, I would say. Regularly would be my opinion, monthly. It's not difficult to pull those market statistics. You could easily do it from Northwest MLS. There are other systems you can purchase that will do that for you. But you need to have something that you can send to your sellers regularly, meaning monthly. Okay, let's go to the next slide. A lot on that slide. Top tips. Definitely set expectations with your sellers. They never like surprises. Break down the process for them. Write down some of their hot things that they are wanting you to, communicate to them about. It's very customized. Some sellers want to hear from you like every week religiously. Other sellers, they're okay. They trust you and you have a relationship and you come up with a marketing and communication calendar that works. If you do it at the listing, it's so much better because then you can deliver on what you promised. And if you don't, shame on you, then you're going to be looking at a seller who's looking at you in 30 days who wants to cancel the listing with you. Be a consultant. Whenever you're speaking with your sellers, provide them with factual data, information of value. Never I always take it from the point of view as, the marketplace or the brokers that have been interested in your home are looking at your property, and in comparison, they feel like kind of put the burden on them, and less instead of I. When you say, I feel like we need a price reduction, yes, it does show that you're the authority, but it also takes, it's kind of a you against them type of negotiation. You're negotiating a price reduction too. I hate to say it, but you definitely have to. There's a way to do that and a way to do it. It's not right. But if you take the approach that based on the factual data I found, I suggest, or, the brokerage or my peers, the buyer's agents that have toured your home feel like a price reduction of $20,000 would be the appropriate step to take in the marketplace like this. That would be the proper way to communicate a price reduction rather than just saying, we need to drop the price by $5,000. Comes across differently. So how you communicate that information from a consultant standpoint is the best plan of attack there. Care more about the seller than the paycheck. So they can tell when you're counting your commission before you actually receive it. Lead with kindness. I understand how you feel. I would feel the same way. I often lead with that when I'm delivering bad news. I understand how you feel. I worked in that marketplace back in whenever that was. I can understand how you feel, but when we discussed your listing and you had expressed that you wanted to move to Colorado, you had entrusted your sale to me. And what I want to do is get you where you need to be. In order to do that, here's what we need to consider. And so you kind of lead that way, more of care, and try to empathize. Sorry, it's been a long day. It's a Monday. Follow up, be consistent with your updates, deliver on what you promise, leverage the firm, leverage your transaction coordinators, lender, title. Everybody is on deck here. All of those people that surround the transaction obviously want to get paid for doing a sale as well. So let's talk about how we work with them and what do they say, or how can we involve them more. Those would all be good top tips. How often should you communicate? I would say every client is very different. I said a customized approach would be the best kind of way to look at this. But I would say that sellers expect to have some sort of follow-up communication with you every week. That is kind of I would say, if I could standardize something for you and get you in a habit, I would plan one day a week where you could get back to all your sellers so that it's just kind of blocking out that time. If you have several listings, I find Friday is the best because they know they're going into the weekend and they can be prepared based on the feedback, or maybe there's not good feedback, that we can be discussing a price reduction earlier in the week, the following week. So oftentimes that factual data, here's kind of a snapshot of what happened in the last week or the last month, and you break it down for them, then they're often wanting to do something to kind of move the ball forward the following week. So based on feedback from the weekend. So I love Fridays, but certainly you just want to get in a regular routine. These are some sample emails. These have come from our top producers, our top listing agents. We had a mastermind group, and Candace and the group there, if you want to join mastermind, just let Candace Frazier know. She'd be happy to invite you to one of our mastermind groups. They meet monthly. There is a commitment. There is no monetary commitment at this time, but this is the kind of stuff that they discuss, and it's great because this is really relevant. These are seller templated emails that our top listing agents are using right now to communicate with their sellers about what's going on. What do they communicate with? How many days on market? How many showings? Here's some feedback. How many views online? What did Zillow say? How many numbers? And it's all in a nice summarized email for you. So you might want to take a picture of that, or if you're listening to the recording, just go ahead and pause it and take a picture and then write your own. That's a great template right there, where it's just a quick, easy weekly update. Template number 2, also a very good one. As promised, I compiled the activity statistics for your property. Please see below. And he has notable stats from last week. I like how it's really bulleted. It's super simple to read. And then the feedback from the showings and open house. Although Sotheby's is very pretty and glamorous and it has all of that, at the end of the day, the seller just wants to know the real deal. Get me to the bottom line, cut to the chase. Most of the sellers that I've polled to ask, how is my broker doing? How is your broker doing? How is the Best Choice Realty broker? And that's one of the things that they love about Best Choice, is that our agents tend to just be at their level and just cut to the chase and give them the relevant factual information so that they can make the appropriate decisions. Maybe cut out the fluff and just go straight to the simple templated email and be consistent in your communication. That would be my recommendation. How can Best Choice Realty support you? Well, we actually have a resource guide where you can download so many different attachments and forms. If you do have to cancel a listing, I definitely honor the relationship that I have with you and with your seller. If the communication gets bad and you just don't want to work with the seller, you have the right to terminate that contract. Whether we terminate on a brokerage or we reassign that seller to somebody else, that certainly is an option. I have taken all kinds of sellers. I've had quite a busy week this past week, from sellers that maybe they don't have the capacity to sign, or they're having a struggle with their listing agent about how they're communicating. I mean, sometimes it takes a different approach if you bring in another agent. So instead of canceling the listing, you may want to partner with another agent to see how you can get another kind of eyeballs on the listing. But all of those resources are available on our resource guide, bestchoicerealtyhomes.com. In our member download section, you can easily download the tips from tonight. It's in a nice little sheet you can print out with the sample letters. The other thing I was thinking about is, how can we really support you? I'm happy at my cost, my mail, to send a letter from the office mailed on your behalf to your sellers. I'm willing to go that deep, you guys. That's how important I think as a firm that we need to be about our communication strategy with the sellers. If you had a high-end listing and you were like, Rochelle, the seller's just not listening to me. I'm sending them weekly updates. We've done several price reductions. Would you be so kind to take the data that I've compiled and send that from on your letterhead and send it from the company to that homeowner's address? Happy to do that tomorrow. So take that. If you have a listing that you're just like, ooh, it's just not going well, I would be happy to sign and date and send that out on your behalf to your sellers. One-on-one trainings that we've done on InfoSparks and MLS data access. If you are needing some help on knowing how to find that market statistical information to compile for your seller, we have done some video recordings on that. And if you're just like, okay, I want something that is easy, I can just click on a few buttons and create that beautiful report for my seller, you can do that with Chime technology. It's our CRM that we use. It's a paid subscription that we have corporate pricing on. We have about 30 to 40 people on the Chime that are actively looking at Chime or are using Chime. And they have, you can see the picture on the right. This is basically embedded. This is my listing in Tukwila. And I can create promotional ads. I can basically do my syndication right in my portal and then send the seller. There's a little button right here that says send seller report. It's as pretty as Sotheby's. It creates a landing page. It creates a website. It's very well done. So Chime has that capabilities within the CRM if you are using that CRM to communicate with your sellers and to really promote your listings with the tools that they provide. Let's go to the next slide. I think that was it. Awesome. I talked fast, as you would guess. 5:52 on the dot. So I've got some time for question and answer. Do you guys have some things that have worked for you? And certainly, Candace, I don't know if I captured everything. So if I did not, please speak up and let us know if there was something I missed on the presentation tonight about seller communication.
No, this was great. This is, I think in our most recent masterminds, we've gone over a little bit of everything, and it was really nice to be able to compile what some of the agents are doing. A few ahas that I had was setting up just a general search in their area, like you would for a CMA, and having that go out so that your client sees all the new listings in the area, all the just sold, all those that have gone pending or contingent. Is ideal, but we've definitely heard loud and clear that we want something kind of streamlined that all agents are doing the same across the board because our listings are lasting a little bit longer. So
awesome. So we didn't miss anything. I think we covered. If Shannon, if you could put up on the screen while we take some comments, I'm going to look at the chat here. Put on the screen what they can download tonight. It's available for download. So just a kind of a nice summary page of things we discussed. So we can all be on the same page. If you have a listing, or maybe it's your first listing, you're like, ooh, what did we talk about? Go ahead and get that download tonight and just have it printed so that you'll remember that we got to have some sort of communication plan. So you go to members, you go to download, and then see, we just put it up today. So if you have not checked it like recently, it's right there, listing communication tips and samples. Notice it kind of looks like what we talked about today. Top tips, communication, sample emails, it's all there. So you can easily print it out with the sample emails. Okay, or you can copy and paste. The links do work as well. Those links right there, it says click for instructions. There are instructions that Candace, thank you so much for putting that together. I think you spent some time with Lori and getting those informational, how to reverse prospect and how to set up showing time. Those are great tools on how to do that. Okay, let me take a look. If there's any questions, go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, this is Emily. I just wanted to reiterate the showing time surveys. I highly recommend that people go in, when we take a listing, whether we have a TC or not, or whatever, we're always in a hurry right at the end. So
Yeah.
I would recommend that people go in advance and you can clone them. And I've got one for like a condominium. I've got one for, single family. And especially when you're anticipating going in with like a house, let's say one listing, their lot is so phenomenal. The seller thinks it's worth 150,000 extra just because of the lot and the landscaping they put in. You can put a custom question, make it really easy for people to click on the answers. But, did you experience the walking paths in the community or the amenities or whatever? Is that of value to you? Yes or no, period. So if you don't get the price you want, you do need to meet with the seller about a price reduction. You can show them those surveys that, people are not putting the value on that lot like we thought they would, or whatever. Just, predict and set up in advance, because when you hit active on the listing, that's when you can go into showing time. So do them in advance, clone them, have them ready, and then make them easy to customize.
Great tip, Emily. Thank you for sharing. That's
Love it.
awesome. Love it.
Rochelle, this is Craig.
Go ahead, Craig.
Hi there. Great job on the summary sheets. I love that communication tool, just to give information. I was wondering on Zillow, because I don't use Zillow much myself, but how you get like the Zillow views of your property. Is it something that's pretty easy, or
Yes.
do you have to be a broker, or how is that?
No, they track that behavior on their website. Whether you like it or not, it's being viewed, and it's a way to track that. Candace, do you want to speak to that?
It's basically you plug in the address on Zillow, and right below, once you plug it in, there's an overview section that's there, plain as day. You almost cannot miss it. So if you've got an active listing and it's, just plug in the address in Zillow, and the overview section right there, right in front of it, shows those stats.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 4 steps, Craig. It's very simple. It's on the sheet.
Excellent.
If you download it, I think it's the second page. It says how to pull that Zillow data, and it's pretty simple. If Shannon might want to put that up on the screen real quick.
Okay. Well, you don't need any special permissions or anything. So excellent.
No.
That's a great learning for me today. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so here's one I just pulled up, Craig, for the record. So you just pull up the listing, and once it's active on the market, you can scroll down. You can see in the overview, there's the days, there's the views, there's the saves.
So that sometimes the sellers are trolling Zillow, other times they're super busy, right? I mean, they're packing their boxes, they're doing stuff. So by you just finding that information and putting it into your report, they like it. I mean, as much.
Yeah. I think it's a service we should provide. So it's great. I didn't think of this before. So thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Thanks for the shout outs. Some of you that are on time, I'm glad it's working for you. Yeah, market is telling us. I like that phrase, Emily. Great point. And yes, new forms are coming out. So continue to use the 1A that's in the Northwest MLS. But you will have a new agreement next week that you'll be able to use. So that's what we will be going over on next Monday's call. Definitely write stuff up. As you can hear Deanne talk at the beginning, get it written. It's the time. So much opportunity. And we'll kind of go over that next week as some good talking points you can use about the opportunity that exists, not only for buyers, but sellers. It's still a good time for both in our area. Okay. Any other questions? Shannon, did I miss anything?
And it looks like we've got a couple questions about the forms changes. So just if you can budget the time for next Monday, we're going to cover the changes, but then also Best Choice Realty's response to the changes. And then we also have 2 trainings a week for the first 2 weeks of October in person. So if that's something that you are interested in, I think for these types of changes, it might be best to do it in person. Just kind of depends on your schedule. But we'll have those in each of our offices as well. So stay tuned on the calendar for those if you're looking for training on the new changes that are rolling out October 1st.
I'm excited. I'm super excited about the changes. I mean, Candace and I and Shannon and Jenny and all of the staff have been involved with those discussions as well as with our attorney. So I'm actually very pleased with how everything turned out for Best Choice. So I'm excited about the changes, and definitely puts you in the negotiation position, and you definitely need to know how to fill out a 1A, and we'll have our own 1A. So that will be fun to actually implement. So stay tuned, and then have a great week, you guys. Keep up the good work out there. There's a lot of business. You just got to get out there and connect with people. That is the key. Connect with people. All right.
Thanks.
Yes, once again, next Monday, all hands on deck. So we'll be covering the new changes, the forms, and the commissions that will be showing on our forms. So make sure you're there, be there or be square.
I'll record it, but it's 5. We'll give yourself an hour. So plan on next Monday, 5:30 to 6:30 on that. All right. Thanks, you guys. Thanks, Deanne. Thanks, Shannon. Have a
Thank
good
you.
All right. See you soon.